Yeah, thanks, guys. It was awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Vance. I appreciate that. Good speech.
Skeptical, but avoid extremes. And then I have another one here. Trusting non-science. Oh yeah, trusting non-science. This is just my notes. I wrote, trusting non-science is just as stupid as trusting bad science or dogma. That's definitely true. So let's say that you're like, well, this big pharma, they're trying to sell me on this really expensive, stupid drug that has all these side effects. The example of the month, or the flavor of the month on this, is the new, like they call them weight loss drugs. Some of them are indicated for weight loss. The rest of them are indicated for diabetes. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The semaglutides, you inject yourself once a month. They have a side effect. When they started out as diabetes drugs, and then they figured out they have a side effect of making people lose 30 or 40 pounds. So, of course, all the big pharma companies went to work making new ones that they could get a new patent on. And they're expensive, and everybody wants them because you lose weight. I'll be honest with you guys, I think they're very unhealthy. Most of the weight loss that comes from using semaglutides is muscle loss, which is the one thing you shouldn't lose, is muscle. So whenever possible, stay away from those things and just eat better and exercise more. But back to the science thing. Let's say you're like, well, I don't want to do these new science things like semaglutides. Those are unhealthy. You're right. You're absolutely right. You should stay away from that. And that's a science-based thing, science/dogma that's corrupted by big pharma and all that. It makes sense to avoid that. I would avoid that too. On the other hand, what so many of us do, and again, it's our political climate, it's our country. Everybody's left, right, up, down, male, female. Everything's upside down. Everything's split into these silos or whatever they want to call it, or all these tribes. So you go, well, because I won't do this medicine for diabetes, which I would tell you is smart. Then go to the exact opposite. So instead of doing this thing that they think bad science is telling them to do, they go away from science completely and do something that's completely non-scientific, which is just as stupid. So it's like, oh, I'm going to, breathe in essential oils and inject myself with Clorox. I don't know, I'm making stuff up. But you see my point. People they go so far against the thing that they don't like that they go to an opposite extreme, which is equally stupid. So instead, employ common sense and say, well, what is the thing that's somewhere between using this fake stuff like essential oils to make my diabetes go away while I eat these Twinkies, or these expensive $400 a month drugs that give me pancreatitis and thyroid cancer and make me lose muscle and all of that. Why don't we all put on our dadgum thinking caps and just use the big brains God gave us and go, well, that extreme seems stupid. That extreme seems stupid. Let's find some place in the middle that makes sense. And then that's where we find the truth almost every time. That's where we find healthy food, exercise, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that was my topic on that one. The last thing I wrote was, I already did this one. My last note was nutrition and that food is medicine, and that's very true. I'm finding it more all the time. I will tell you something else. I'm one of those hardcore low carb guys. I'm almost to full at this point in my life. I'm almost full. Not quite, but almost full carnivore. That's not good either. Like maybe for some people, what I'm getting at here is don't let somebody like me sometimes even say, well, one size fits all. So for you, you should only eat this one thing. Maybe, but maybe not. Use common sense and find what's right for you. One size fits all medicine is always a bad idea. So I think that's the last thing I had on that sort of tangent. So I don't have a lot else. I've kind of covered a lot of things, but I'm more than happy to answer some questions along these lines of these things we've been talking about today. I will tell you that the free market is growing in healthcare, and that's a very good thing. There are surgery centers that you can get a cash price off their website, if you need your gallbladder out. Just the other day, a patient needed their gallbladder out. Our local hospital was going to charge them $25,000, and they would not budge. So we sent my patient down to my friend's place in Oklahoma, and he did the same surgery for $5,000 cash. So that is happening, and we're seeing more of that all the time, which is a good thing. In general, truth usually wins, and I think we're going to see the collapse of the system. Anybody working in the system that's now out like me sees it very much like the Titanic. It's going down. It's completely unsustainable. At some point, it's going down. So I just thought all those 9 years ago when I got out, I'm like, well, I'm going to be the first guy off the Titanic. I'm building a really nice lifeboat. So more and more people will be doing that, and that's good news for the average consumer and for the public. So yeah, we got some questions. Let's do it. What's up, brother?
Hey, Dr. Lassey, how are you?
Good, man.
Hey, first I just wanted to tell you that I can't tell you how thankful we are as a community to have you.
Thanks, man.
And
That's
to have
so
your,
nice.
And Daniel Jones is amazing. I can't tell you just how
He's
great
my brother from another mother. He's over there at our camp right now.
He is, and I've had nothing but positive experiences, and a lot of the community goes to you. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you thank you for that. But my question is, in the world of disinformation, there's so much of it. It is so hard to tell what's truth and what's not anymore. Do you have any resources or places that you like to go if someone's curious to research the difference between Clorox and the other extreme you mentioned?
Yeah, so the first thing is just, I don't know, part of it reminds me of Romans. Like, some things are just plain, but so many people want to ignore the things that are obvious. So what I mean with that one is trust your gut. If something seems sketchy, it probably is, right? That's the first thing I go for. So the answer to your question is we have to start over because we can't trust really medical education because it's completely sold out to big pharma. But here's the thing, you guys, that's, again, not all bad. Big Pharma makes the antibiotics that save us. Drive past a small town rural cemetery today on your way home, and you'll see these little tiny headstones, right, next to some big ones. Everybody knows what those are. From 100 years ago, those are children. Those are babies. They died during the 1914 influenza epidemic. They died of pneumonia before antibiotics were invented. Aren't we glad we have those drugs? Of course we are. Big Pharma's not all bad, but they're still are partially bad. So again, it's all about being rational and saying, well, this makes sense, this doesn't. So where do you get good information? The biggest thing I would say is find people you trust, find resources that you trust from other things. So this is exactly the way we read the Bible. If you're reading the Bible and there's a verse that you're like, I don't really understand this, find another spot in the Bible where it makes it clear, and then you study it in terms of the one that you obviously understand. So if you have a question about one of the Clorox type topics, then you say, well, Daniel is somebody I've talked to before who knows this stuff, and he told me something before that I definitely trusted. So now I can ask him on this thing. And this same thing goes for me. So I'll give you an example. Like, this is an example. It's like the metabolism issues. So whenever I figured out the metabolism stuff and whenever I changed my diet, for those of you guys who don't know, doing low carb, I lost almost 90 pounds, reversed all my medical problems, got way healthier. I didn't know much about it, and there wasn't a lot in the literature, but I knew a guy who's a doctor in Austin who's a friend of mine, and he did know about this, and he reads all this stuff, has time to really research it. So all I did is put that guy on speed dial. I sent him a nice Christmas gift every year because I'm basically picking his brain once a week, asking for help on something, because he's a guy who I know knows the stuff, and I can trust him, and he has more time to study than I do, okay? So find trustworthy resources. So what about, like online? Obviously, there's crap you cannot trust online, and there's stuff that's good online. So once again, start by going with things that you already have figured out. So if you already know something to be true, and then the person online saying the thing that you agree with, then you go, okay, well, maybe now I can also I can trust them for the other thing that I don't know anything about. But I agree with them on this thing, so I'll probably agree with them on that thing too, right? So medical resources beyond that. I have gotten to where I mean we have the same resources we've ever had. It's just that now I have to look at who funded the study. Was this a study done in a university setting that had blinded research funding, or is it a study that was done by Big Pharma where they're going to come up with, oh yeah, this drug's a great deal. So a big part of it is just doing your due diligence to find out who did the research that you're taking advice from. But in general, I would just tell people, find good resources and then vet them on something that you already know and have seen to be true.
I may be kind of asking the same question off of what he said in the area of just outside of the bleach, who is it that's working to heal that gallbladder and get that functioning instead of just removing it and cutting it out? If you look around, people talk about, like the speaker this morning mentioned, there's people all around the world that are healing certain things that are illegal to do here. I know of people from back when I was in high school, they went to Mexico to do certain treatments. there's all kinds of things in different areas that are being handled very differently, and of course, doesn't cost the same amount. And cancer treatments, for example,
Yeah.
are a raging funnel of money going
Yeah,
into that.
absolutely.
So where are the places that we're finding these truly alternative things that are legitimate, that are absolutely being, you can see people all over the net, for example, that are saying, "Oh, I go to this place out of the states to get this done," and we're all doing it. All these expensive people with all kinds of money, they're going to other places to get these things done. And are there some of those type of things that you know about, or resources, or
Yeah, but most of the ones I'm aware of and deal with are still very underground because, like you said, Big Pharma has the whole system by the you know what. So, but I want to be careful on that. So you said, well, where do you go to make your gallbladder work again rather than just getting it cut out? You're dangerously close to that same dichotomy I talked about, which is, well, because these doctors I don't trust cut out the gallbladder, then the only right answer must be to leave it in. That will kill you if your gallbladder is bad enough. So you still have to avoid the extremes of saying, whatever happens, I'm sure not cutting it out. Well, you might die, right? But at the same time, you may not need to cut it out, and it might be smart to just change your diet, try some meds, whatever. So the question is, where do you go to get that kind of information? What? Right, sure. Back surgeries they shouldn't have had or whatever. So the truth is we're still in the brave new world. We're starting over. Doctors that think the way I do, we rely on each other because it's not like there's a medical school that doesn't teach big pharma fed stuff. So, you have to just use, you know what, if I was reading about, I want to go get whatever surgery it is in Mexico, I would literally be calling the people who went there and asking them what their experience was, right? Because otherwise, how can you possibly know that it's a trustworthy thing for whatever the deal was? The same thing goes for back surgery is a great example. For the most part, I'll tell you, this is another really big misconception. A lot of people think that, the surgeons are still of a mind where a chance to cut is a chance to cure, and all they want to do is always cut and make money. That has not been true during the duration of my career, which is 20 years now. Doctors in surgery do not want to do surgery if they can't get you fixed. And the reason for that is if you don't get fixed, it looks bad for them. They only want people to have surgery who get a good outcome. So if you're not likely to get fixed by surgery, very few doctors will do the surgery anymore. For instance, if I send somebody that I think needs back surgery, I'd say 1 out of 5 times do they get it. 4 out of 5 times the surgeons are like, nah, this person needs to lose weight and do physical therapy. So again, find someone who's gone there, someone who's done that, and get it from the horse's mouth. I hope that helps. But the answer is there a clearinghouse for people that cure cancer without chemo? No. Ask around. We're in the brave new world of medical education that's not corrupt. We're all figuring it out as we go.
I have a question on privacy.
Yeah.
There is if someone, my guess is even though you're outside the system, you're still entirely attached from a privacy standpoint. So if someone walks into your office with Ebola, you still have to report that to some governmental authority.
So at least in my clinic, I mean, direct primary care practices, there's probably close to 8,000 of them in the United States now, or at least 5,000. We're all different. So you're never going to find any two that do things exactly the same. But for most of them, the people like me, we run our own medical records internally, and we don't share anything outside of our clinic unless you want us to. So if I'm sending you to some specialist, we use back surgery as an example over here. Your back's really bad and you want to go see this surgeon. You'll say, hey, yeah, please send my records with regard to my office visits that I've had with you for back surgery to the surgeon. So, of course, we would share that. But nothing else goes out because, remember, we don't contract with Medicare. We're opted out of Medicare. We have no obligation to share anything with anybody. So you get ultimate privacy whenever you're in the free market of healthcare. Now, the other question you said, which is another side of that, is, well, what about reportable diseases? Now we're talking. Keep in mind, in order to practice medicine in the United States, you still have to have a license and you have to maintain licensure, which is an annual thing. One of the things you have to do to maintain a license is you have to be within the law, and one of the things the law requires is that certain infectious diseases be reported to the government. That's just the way it is. Do I like it? No. Do you like it? No. Is it the law? Yes. If I break it, will I lose my license? Yes. If I lose my license, can I practice medicine anymore? No. So if you get Ebola, I'm telling Uncle Sam, sorry, but I got 1,000 other patients who need health care, and if I hide it because of you and you don't want me to, I lose my job, and now 9,000 people however many people lose their health care, right? So the answer to your question is we are mandated to report certain things. If someone comes in to see me and I have a strong suspicion that they are being abused by a parent or being trafficked, I have to report that. If you come in and you have certain infectious diseases, I have to report that. Not that many of them. Most of them are sexually transmitted diseases and, like you said, Ebola or whatever.
So that was, I used an extreme there.
Right.
Who sets that procedure? You or the government?
The government. You mean, yeah. So we have to call the health department and say, hey, this patient has hepatitis C, and here's their address, and then they call you to make sure you're getting it taken care of and that you're not giving it to everyone or whatever. You know what I mean?
And so if a patient walks in and would prefer not to have any tests run, that would identify them in any way. I could understand on the Ebola, but now we're down to COVID because that got probably put on that list, or probably the
No,
next.
I don't know if COVID was. It's not anymore. It might have been for a while. I haven't reported COVID for a long time.
Okay, I was saying, at one time it was.
But I also stopped testing for it because why? It causes a cold. I don't report people who have a common cold any more than I do who has COVID. I treat COVID exactly the way I treat a common cold because that's what it is.
Okay.
Now, but with regard to other labs, let's say you wanted to have lab work done, routine stuff, just whatever. Let's say you wanted to have your blood sugar tested, but at the same time you wanted to make sure that your insurance company didn't find out you have diabetes or something like that. That's weird, but I mean, we could probably just submit your lab under John Doe or something because it's not reportable. I could call you John McGillicuddy and be like, here's your glucose results or whatever. I mean, you could do that kind of stuff probably.
So you're saying that diabetes is a reportable?
No, it's not.
Okay.
The only thing that's reportable are certain infectious diseases that can cause pandemics.
Yeah, I would imagine anything that's transmittable would be the only things on the
only reportable stuff that I'm aware of is stuff that can cause really bad epidemics. So it's always infectious disease, and a lot of them are STDs. And then the other one is, again, you have to report a suspected abuse. If you think someone's being abused or trafficked, you got to say something.
And are all those identified to the actual person or anonymous?
No, they're identified to the actual person. You mean the patient's name? Yeah, the patient's name's on there. Otherwise,
So
how are they going to know who to call?
Always. It's not just like child abuse, or whatever. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, if I tell Uncle Sam, hey, I saw a patient who has hepatitis, and they're like, who is it? I'm like, not telling you. Well, that doesn't do them any good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, I don't know that that's always the right thing. It's just the way the law is. I didn't write it. And I don't have to go if I'm out of time and you guys want to ask questions. I'm willing to stick around.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
All right, Terry, what you got, brother?
We know that doctors don't.
By the way, are you wearing scrubs today?
Yes, I am.
All right. Terry's the doctor today.
No, modesty garments.
Oh, modesty garments.
That's what we wore at work. The doctors don't have time to do the research and stuff. You know, you're busy. There are charts out there or documentation about if I take this drug, 10,000 people have to take it for 3 of them to get some kind of benefit.
Right.
And I have a friend that before they take any drug, anything, or in fact, they educate the doctors, and the doctors are very receptive to the information that he has. It's not the fact that they don't want to know this stuff.
I got what you're saying. Let me summarize this. What he's saying is that, doctor, we're busy. I mean, we're seeing patients all day long. We can't always be reading the journals and checking out the science. And here's the thing. Now we have to vet the science. I can't just take the journal for its word. I now got to see who's paying for the study and all of that. So you're very right. You may know more about it than your doctor. I have a cousin. He used to live in Colorado Springs. He died of a very rare genetic neurological condition. And he's a really smart kid. He died whenever he was about 22 years old. But he was brilliant. I mean, he was an engineering student. He was super smart. And he had this super duper rare genetic neurological degenerative condition. And so he knew everything there was to know about that disease. And he's a smart kid. So he had read everything there was. And then whenever he went to see a neurologist, because a neurologist has to know everything about a lot of neurological diseases, right? But my cousin had made himself an expert on one disease. And so he would show up to the neurologist's office and say, hey, I think that, and keep in mind, this is a disease we have no cure for, but he was aware of a study on a drug that was being done in Paris. And he got there and he told the neurologist, hey, I think I should try this drug. And the neurologist is like, that's a diabetes drug. It has nothing to do with your neurological condition. He goes like, I know, but they're doing this study on it in Paris right now. I might as well take the drug now because if it works in Paris, it can work here. And the doctor's like, hey, good idea, because how would the doctor know that? He's not reading every study about every little disease being done in Paris. So it never hurts if you have evidence or you have research, share it with your doctor. Now, I will also tell you, to paraphrase it, do not come in and hand your doctor a ream of paper on everything there is to know about Lyme disease. Your doctor knows about Lyme disease, and Lyme disease almost doesn't exist in Kansas. He doesn't need more education about it. You know, there's just like anything, be nice about it and say, hey, you might be interested in this or whatever. But yeah, absolutely share the research you've done, because you're darn right. We don't have time to research everything all day long. I wish we had more time. Yes?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for pioneering the health care that you have.
Thank you. You're very welcome. No, it's my pleasure.
Me and my friends,
I do it.
we appreciate you.
I live by the golden rule. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated, and I want to be treated by doctors who aren't in the broken system. So I'm just doing what I should do. You know what? Thank you for saying that. But here's the thing, like, you guys, I think you guys will love this. At my kids' school, back when they were in elementary school, they're the Wildcats, and they had this thing called Positive Pause. It was a blue stamp, and when a kid did something that they were supposed to do anyway, they'd give them a stamp on their body to say, good job for like whatever, not chewing gum in the hallway. Good job for being quiet in the hallway. And my kids would come home covered in these stupid stamps. And I'm like, what is the positive pause for? Oh, because I didn't chew gum. I'm like, you're not supposed to chew gum. Why are we thanking kids and training for doing what they're supposed to do? So I appreciate your sentiment, but I'm not doing this to get any of us to do. We're just doing what we're supposed to do. Treat people like human beings, not like cattle, like they are inside the system. So you're welcome, but I don't feel like I need the thanks. I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do.
My question is, for you and your fellow pioneers, is there any idea or notion of starting your own medical school?
So we've actually thought about it. That's a great question. The first step would probably not be a medical school, just because of the ridiculous amount of cost and stuff required. We've talked about a residency program, which would be after students had graduated from medical school, they could go to a residency for a 3-year family medicine residency where it's all inside the free market. So it would be taught by doctors that do what I do, supervised by doctors that do what I do. And the patients that come to the residency program would also be non-insured, not Medicare, not Medicaid, all that. We've absolutely talked about it. It would be a future thing. It probably wouldn't even happen in the next 20 years because of I don't know, maybe in the next 10 years if the right person came along to be in charge of it that was willing to do 80 hours worth of work for basically no money. The bigger problem is to do an education system, or to be in the education system, whether you're talking about residencies or medical schools, is you have to be accredited. And guess what? Now you're back inside the same system that all the current schools are accredited by. So, I don't know what would require. You'd almost have to make a whole new field of medicine that doesn't get accredited by allopathic medical schools, which are the MD schools, or osteopathic medical schools, which are the DO schools. You'd almost have to make a new, CSM, which is Common Sense Medicine School, and make your own set of rules and laws and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question, but it's one of those things where it would take it would be a monumental effort to get it off the ground, and there would have to be a lot of money coming from somewhere to finance it. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And it would have to be in a pretty big city because you'd have to have enough patients to take care of.
Would have to shut down farming.
Have to
Really, you could do it.
stop farming.
Farming.
Oh yeah. Okay, more questions. Who else over there? Yes.
Hey, I'm in the Kansas City area, and every hospital that I go to pushes the homosexual LGBTQ
Yeah.
agenda so hard.
Yeah.
Are you aware of a medical institution that, like, in Kansas City, St. Luke's, right? Like, why call yourself St. Luke's if you promote
Right.
transgenderism? It's
Right,
just so frustrating. So are you aware of a medical institution that actually values, Christian values and then just basic health, what's good for you mentally and physically?
Yeah, for the Christian values part of it, all you can really do is hope to find a hospital system that is actually sponsored by, a Christian organization. So most of them are, like the big ones are Catholic organizations, but most of them have fallen pretty far, like you say, along things like that. I mean, there's one in Wichita that is a Catholic one. At least they used to be. I think they got bought out, but for a long time, like they stuck by their their guns on stuff like that. They wouldn't, for instance, they were Catholic, really hardcore Catholic there. So like for instance, they wouldn't let their doctors there prescribe birth control or do vasectomies because that was their thing as Catholics, So they did stick by that. That being said, that those are becoming fewer and farther in between. The thing is, remember, again, when you're inside the system in a place like you're talking about, just because you're at a place that's corrupt doesn't mean everybody that's in there. So again, hate the game, not the player. So it's going to be finding doctors that think that way. You'd be surprised. Most of my friends, doctors I talk to every day, they recognize that for example, the transgender stuff is it's embracing delusion, and they're starting to wake up in other parts of the world. I mean, they've stopped the surgeries in the UK and everything. It's going to happen here too, and the reason it's going to happen is it's going to become money. What's going to happen is people, who some little confused kid when they were 13 got major surgery because some hospital made a bunch of money doing it, and now they're 20 and they realize that was a horrible decision. What's going to happen is, I hate to say this, but I guess my sister will appreciate it. She's an attorney, so it's going to be attorneys that fix this because they're going to go after the money. It's exactly the reason that smoking is so much less prevalent than it used to be. They've taxed it through the roof and all of those things because it took them that long to basically bring lawsuits against Big Tobacco for teaching it to kids with Joe Camel and Marlboro Man and all the thing they did advertising to children. Once the money got a hold of them, the whole thing turned around. So it's going to be money. Whenever these hospitals don't make money by disfiguring people, it'll stop.
Just to follow up on the questions Mo was asking about reportable diseases or whatever. What about gunshot wounds? And I guess follow
That's
up.
a great question. I have now cared for 3 gunshot wounds in my clinic. 3.
But are they reportable?
I don't know. I didn't report them.
At a hospital, you're supposed to call the sheriff.
I don't work for a hospital.
I know.
I told the hospital to take this job and shove it.
There you go.
Best day of my life.
So that's my follow-up question is when should we expect St. Vance's free market hospital for deplorables?
Okay, so St. Vance's Free Market Hospital does kind of exist. Obviously, St. Vance's doesn't exist, but there are free market hospitals popping up. Most of them are surgery centers that basically put their prices online and stuff like that. The biggest ones in Oklahoma City, the guys who run it are good friends of mine. And what's great is that now other hospitals are starting to compete with them. So basically the free market's doing what it does best, right? And pushing the prices down, even from where they started. And what's awesome is the guys who started it want that to happen. Whenever I called them to tell them I was going to have my patient get their gallbladder out there, and they're like, okay, it's $5,000. And then I got another hospital that was 3 hours closer to do it for $4,000. The guys from Oklahoma City were like, that's awesome. They lost the business, and they're like, that's awesome. Because they believe in the free market and they want to see it grow. So there are more of those hospitals. Now, they're not general hospitals where you can get admitted for, all kinds of other things yet. But I'm telling you, that will come. That will come. I mean, it already exists in all the countries where they have socialized medicine because the socialized medicine does what it does best, which is inefficiency. And so if you need to get surgery in Canada or Australia or someplace like that, you can't get it for 2 years. So now all these hospitals are popping up that are private, and you can go there, right, and get – I was in Australia. I did a 6-week pediatric pulmonology rotation in Melbourne, Australia, and the hospital literally had 2 sides, the public side and the private side. The public side took you 2 years to get your free health care, quote-unquote free health care with your 50% income tax, or you could get health care today if you paid for it. So the social stuff, the socialism medicine stuff actually forces the private sector to expand also, which is a weird good thing, I guess. But it is coming, and there's some of that there now. If you have a direct care doc, they will help you find it. Yes?
Hey, I'm real excited about your big kits you're making now.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Where maybe talk about them a little bit, and then where do I go get one? I want to buy one.
Okay, so I don't have any with me. I'm taking orders because I've got to order a bunch of stuff to build them. But the question he's making, this kit over here that I made for this year's festival, I was just going to do one off because most of the first aid kits I make are a little smaller. This one's, you don't have to get it out and do all that, but anyway, I had 2 or 3 people email me asking if they could get one, so I priced out what I was going to take time-wise to make them. So come yell at me if you want me to build you one. They're $450. I'll also make you a custom 3D printed badge for the top of it, so it can have your family name on it or whatever you want. My high school kid loves playing with the 3D printer, so I farm that part out. But anyways, yeah, that's what they are. That answers the question. I'm not going to keep making those forever because it takes a long time. But I'm going to make one run of them. I'm not taking any orders for them after September 13th. because then I know how much stuff I need to get from all the wholesalers to build them.
Any more questions for Dr. Vance?
So if you want to know what's in the kit, there's a laminated piece of paper up here on the where all the prizes are. That's got everything that's in it on there. The only medicine that I can legally put in there for a kit that's being donated to the public is over-the-counter medications, and it does have a lot of Tylenol and ibuprofen and Benadryl in it, but it doesn't have any prescription medications in it. With the exception of lidocaine, it does have a vial of lidocaine in it in the surgery kit, which arguably it probably shouldn't, but I didn't say that on the. Just edit that part out, will you?
Copy that.
Yeah. Okay.
Any more questions for Dr. Vance?
Oh, and I do have a handful of the smaller first aid kits over at our table if you want to look at those too.
Please, thank you. Do they have the logo on it too?
They don't have the logo. No, there's no 3D print. They're soft kits. They're not big hard ones like this.
Copy that.
You guys, it was a pleasure to have been invited to talk about this stuff. If you can't tell, I'm passionate about fixing health. Oh, I'm passionate about fixing healthcare, but the truth is I don't believe it can be fixed. I believe it has to be rebuilt. There are some things that you just can't fix. The only thing you can do is start over, and this is one of them. And so that's what we're doing in direct primary care. And I have more and more specialists that are getting involved. So it's not just family doctors and pediatricians. I've got friends who are general surgeons that are doing everything they can to get outside of the system. I've got friends who are urologists, obstetricians. More and more doctors are saying they're fed up with it. And so we're the ones that did it first because it was easiest for us to do it, because we have a person might need me for a lot of things, so they don't have a problem paying a monthly fee of $50 or $60. Whereas a urologist, you don't want to pay $50 a month when you're only going to need them once when you're 70. You know what I mean? But we're finding ways to help them get into free market care. I consult with specialists all the time who are fed up and want out. So the good news is there are good medical people out there. Just a matter of finding them. And don't forget, just because they're not outspoken about good things doesn't mean they're not like-minded. You just need to talk to them and see where they are. They're not all on the Kool-Aid. They just work at Kool-Aid vending places. Does that make sense?
Talk to them behind the closed door.
Yeah, talk to them. Say, hey, my cell phone is off. If yours is off, I want to talk to you about something. And if it makes them really comfortable and they don't want to talk to you about ivermectin for COVID, or if they don't want to talk to you about, I don't know, some of the new antifungals or old antifungals that are working really well for cancer, some of those kinds of things, fine, don't talk to them. No, if that makes you uncomfortable, that's okay. We don't have to talk about it. You can go talk to somebody else about it. But the point is, their eyes might light up and they're like, oh, wow, you know about that? I've kind of heard about it, but here at the hospital, they won't let us talk about that at all. And, I mean, during COVID, we lost no one, but we did have a couple of patients who got hospitalized, just a couple. And one of them, I mean, we were literally, one of the doctors who was like-minded with us was helping us basically sneak this lady ivermectin in the ICU. And we were literally having to sneak it to them because the hospital was so just garbage. But don't get me started. But my point is, there are people that will help. We have people who are like-minded, even on the inside. You just have to help. You just have to find them and ask around. And that patient survived and is doing really well, of course.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Vance. I appreciate that. Good speech. All right, that's it for now. Go enjoy your dinner. Remember, 6 o'clock, everybody needs to be up here at the stage. First will be the children's giveaway with Christy. So have all your kids who participated in children's events today with their tickets up here at 6. Immediately following that, we're giving away all this stuff, including that kit that Dr. Vance donated to us. And then Grumpy's Seed Exchange under the pavilion, where there will be a free market, barter only, plants, trees, and bushes. Thank you very much. I'll be selling tickets until the prize giveaway.
Slow clap.
So, look at this one. So, what do you want? So, I think I have some pictures of the other ones I made. Maybe I do. There's a list. It's a lot better than, the little ones I sell. It's got more stuff. So it's got, for instance, it's got splints. It's so much bigger. Way more ace wrap. It's got a full airway kit. So there's an LMA and it has oil plunger and nasal plunger right away. The little one can't have that. The only thing this one right here doesn't have. Oh no, it doesn't. Never mind. For a minute I was thinking it didn't have a one on front, but it does. I don't know why I was thinking it didn't. It's got more of it. It's got a lot of same stuff that like a lot more of it. There's more suture, more gauze, more. But it's since you're you want to have
Don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, that's how we stay.
I know.
It matters, dude.
I know. Thank you so much, man. Of course. How you doing? Anyway, if you want something special on the badge, just email it to me.
Yeah, no, I think Holton Direct Care would be wonderful.
All right, man. I'll just put first date on.
Love it.
Blake, how are you, man? Yeah, appreciated your question. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. It's like they have these signs in their lobby. It's like wanting to tell kids to run with scissors.
I know. No, exactly. It's what it is.
I'll have to wait till the replay. I missed your talk, so I was busy doing some other things.
That's all right. How are you?
We met before.
Yeah.
Yes.
You look familiar, but I don't remember.
Skeins, last name, but yeah, I'm wondering, like you were here when we were at Perry.
Yeah,
Two
times ago.
Yeah,
yep, I was there.
Tackle with those nurses you were
Yes,
talking to.
yeah. Now I do remember.
Yes.
There's some other nurses from that gaggle that are here too.
Oh, Lisa? Yeah, there's one right there. Kathy did not come in. She's left us.
Well, nice seeing you again.
It's nice seeing you too, but I am moving to near Holton.
Oh, really? Where are you moving to?
Closer to Denison, I think.
Okay, that's not too far.
I'm actually going to lease some land from another person.
Cool. Yeah, you're going to be right there, part of the clan. You're going to be a neighbor.
Yes, until I can get. I'm in school because I had to take a refresher course.
Open it up,
Sure.
touch it.
I did
Flamethrow's pretty cool. Sticks 9 volts out of it.
but not
Unleaded
very
gas, and
long.
off you go.
Killing it. I do have to go to New Orleans. As soon as I finish the crap online,
What's that?
really need some Narcan.
Maybe.
I'm not sure how well I'm going to do because honestly I just did the